This offseason has been a long, grueling offseason. I mean, it was just terrible for about a whole month, but that's basically what happens every single year. You get that little dry period where nothing happens, right? But we're all gearing up for training camp, which has officially began for all 32 NFL teams, which is very, very exciting because that means football is basically all the way back. And I couldn't be more excited. That means we have things to talk about. We have some storylines we can dive into. And today we're going to be talking about a very interesting one, right? Just a couple years ago, we drafted a guy, number 32 overall, who we thought was going to be, you know, uh, sitting next to Harrison Smith on the football field potentially once or eventually taking over the hitman spot on the defense. And all of a sudden, that was abruptly ended after a gruesome injury. And now he's been struggling to even make the team. Okay. Last year, he spent some time on special teams, but Lewis Cine has been on a roller coaster as of late. The last couple seasons have not been what he had hoped would be his start of his NFL career. And I think that goes for all of us as fans, right? We drafted him. His nickname was the Sledgehammer for a pretty good reason. He liked to lay the boom, which is what Harrison the Hitman Smith was known for, is going out there and just leveling people, making explosive plays, if you will, on the football field. That was abruptly ended when he, I believe, broke his leg in London and caught all of us off guard, if you will. And since then, it's been really tough, like I mentioned earlier, for him to really make a roster spot. Last year, he had to do so on special teams, and that's maybe not what he wanted to hear or wanted to do, but that's the only way he was able to stay on the field. And he made an interesting comment today, basically stating that, hey, I haven't lost a step. Well, let's get into it. Before we do, make sure to subscribe to the channel. So, Sports Illustrated basically wrote this article on the Minnesota Vikings and Lewis Cine, basically stating that he hasn't lost a step, and that's because he talked to KSTP's Darren Wolfson at the end at the beginning of or right before training camp started today, and gave him a little tidbit. So let's get right into it. Where's Lewis Cine's head at, and how do we see this going forward this season? So Lewis Cine says he has not lost a step since suffering a devastating injury in the Vikings Saints game in London during his rookie season in 2022. Now in his third season, the former first-round pick is considered by many to be a long shot to make the 53-man roster. Here's what he told KSTP's Darren Wolfson ahead of Wednesday's first training camp practice. I think I'm just looking forward to just balling with no thinking. Okay. I think a certain thing about being in two defenses, being a safety, is the mental aspect of the game and clicking. When you're the last line of defense, you got to be on your T and be able to communicate and get in and out. I feel a lot more comfortable with me communicating with my teammates and being where I need to be. So, right off the bat, okay, look, he said he hasn't lost a step, and I don't know. I beg to differ, right? If he hasn't lost a step, he would probably make the starting roster. Plain and simple, right? I mean, that's just if he hasn't lost a step, we draft him first round in 2022 at pick number 32 to be the, predecessor to Harrison Smith. Maybe see some time opposite of Harrison Smith and really, make a role on this team. That injury, however, put him back. Okay. It let other superstars or other stars on the team shine bright, like Cam Bynum and Josh Metellus. So I wouldn't necessarily say, that he hasn't lost a step, because I think he has a little bit. Um, but look, a long shot to make the 53-man roster. I still think he makes the roster. He was a former first-round pick. I think he played somewhat decent on special teams. And if he still has that, go get him type of attitude, that dog mentality, if you will, he's going to make the roster. He's going to be a special teamer one way or another. So there's no ifs, ands, or buts about that. I wouldn't say it's a long shot, but I still think there's a chance he could end up not making the 53-man roster and have to find a different home. But at this point in time, I still think he makes the Minnesota Vikings roster. And he's completely right with basically saying, look, you have to mind your P's and Q's. You have to mind your T's. You have to know what the defense is thinking. You have to be communicating with with your teammates and make sure you're at the right spot at the right time to make plays on defense. Okay, plain and simple. Now, as a rookie, Lewis Cine had to learn Ed Donatell's defensive scheme, which really wasn't that great. I mean, that scheme was horrible. Thank goodness he's not our defensive coordinator anymore. But in his second year, while working his way back from a broken leg he suffered as a rookie, he was tasked with learning a new scheme under defensive coordinator Brian Flores, which was a lot better, right? Now, this season marks his second season in Flores' system. Now, how big is training camp? C knows he has to prove that he belongs. Here's also what he told Wolfson. It's huge. Okay, it's huge for me on a personal note. I think I really got to show out and really ball out and prove why I should be here and why I deserve to be playing in the National Football League. 1000%. Okay, you have to find a way to prove to this organization, to prove to your coaches that you belong in the National Football League, that you belong with the Minnesota Vikings. I think he still has it. It's somewhere down inside his gut. He knows that he can play at a high level. That broken leg is just a mental, okay, it's a very physically bad injury. It's going to make you overthink some things. But after you've rehabbed it, after you've came back 100%, now you're ready to rock and roll. Hey, now it's just the mental game. Okay, go out there. Don't play scared. And I'm sure he's like, I ain't playing scared. But there's probably some instances where he's taken a step differently than what he would have before the broken leg, right? So he has to get back to that mindset and really just kind of, bring out that dog in him, if you will. And it sounds simple, but it's very hard to do. But I think Lewis Cine can do that. Okay, he played with Georgia, a very, very good team in college football. Now he's with the Minnesota Vikings. He's in the National Football League. I think he can figure it out. Now, asked if he's positive that he hasn't lost a step, Cine replied, I have not lost a step. No. Let's see it then. He also said that it's unfortunate that I broke my leg. That's long behind me. I got the opportunity to learn the defense and not be rushed where something bad could happen again. So now I have to just use this opportunity to show that I haven't lost a step and I'm that same Lou that you guys drafted, which is fantastic. That's exactly what I just talked about, right? He said it's unfortunate I broke my leg, but hey, that's long behind me. I ain't even worried about that. He has the opportunity now, right? He's not going to have to be rushed where something bad could happen again, right? When you're a rookie, things are flying around, game's pretty fast. You're like, oh boy, you make one wrong move, bam, your season's over, and now maybe your career's in jeopardy, right? But he knows that he can't be rushed or he's not going to be rushed, and he just has to use this opportunity to show that he hasn't lost a step, and I think he said it perfectly, right? He doesn't think he lost a step, but he also knows that, hey, I have to prove to these guys to show them I haven't lost a step. And I really respect that. I think Lewis Cine is a great player, or at least was a great player, and I'd love to see him flourish into something special for this organization, especially after a couple years removed from being a first-round draft pick. I think he has what it takes to make the roster, make the 53-man roster, and potentially later on down the line see some playing time. But again, that all depends on how Josh Metellus, Cam Bynum, and Harrison Smith do, because all three of those safeties are above him on the depth chart. So it's going to be very, very hard and grueling, a very grueling task for Lewis Cine to at least see the field at some point this season, that not being on special teams, right? So Lewis Cine says he hasn't lost a step. He's ready to ball out. I cannot wait to see him perform this season. Hopefully he makes the roster. I believe he will. I want you guys to let me know your thoughts about this situation in the comment section down below. Drop a like and subscribe to the channel. It'd be much, much appreciated. Have a great rest of your night, folks, and Skol Vikes.